All right, only 2 weeks left. Continuing our series on the NAR settlement and our Tuesday tips. They're not even really tips, they're really just like myth-busting facts, right? So first, myth, the settlement will reduce the total cost of a transaction. We've kind of already heard this one. It's just framed a little different. Fact, an agent's professional services are not free, nor should they be. Amen to that. And sellers may be paying other fees and concessions now that more buyers may be paying their agent's commission. So here's the beauty of this. Here's a little hidden secret. Sellers thought that because we were in this amazing seller's market, that they were going to be able to get a windfall and get the buyer to pay even more of the transaction. Which when you really think about it, the buyer has always had to pay their closing costs, they've had to pay transfer recording fees, they've had to pay, all their loan fees, the appraisal fee. Like the buyer has already bared a good amount of expenses as well, almost equal to what the expenses were on the seller side. And the seller said, hey, we're in a seller's market. We want to get some of this back. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what happens when we're in a buyer's market under these same pretenses? So now what has happened, what has really changed is that prior to this as agents, we were not allowed to negotiate our commission directly with sellers. Whatever the seller offered, we had to take, and our buyer could pay us the difference. That was a thing, we could go to the buyer and say, hey, seller's only giving us 1% or 2%, pay us the 2% difference. Like that has been a thing forever. But now we are allowed to go to the seller and say, seller, you're offering 1%. Buyer has agreed to pay us 3%. Can you please pay the difference? And in which case, in a really hot market, maybe you can get away with not doing that. But guess what? In a not so hot market, you're going to pay the 3%. You're going to pay whatever you need to in order to get your house sold. Because I remember that. I started in business in 2009. From 2009 to 2016, it was a bloodbath. The average days on market was 90 to 120 days. Sellers would do anything to get their house sold. And obviously, the folks that have been through that market before have a little bit of amnesia. So we'll see what happens with this. So the myth, settlement will reduce the total cost of a transaction. No, it will not. The costs are going to be similar, okay? Maybe even more than what they used to be.